Vincenzo's Gold Crypto Investing. Remember to bell notification, comment down below, subscribe to the station, and share. Become members of Jabroni Killer to support the channel and ensure you get the daily cryptocurrency and XRP and Bitcoin videos you come to expect, need, and deserve. And that's as cheap as $2.69 a month to get this valuable information. And you can see today we've had quite the correction, which we've been anticipating at some point to have some kind of correction after it's been a very, very powerful, very, very strong cryptocurrency bull market. That doesn't mean the bull market's over. It's just a very, very healthy consolidation today. And if we look at the XRP price, it hasn't corrected as much as some of the other coins like XLM, but XLM had that 100% move in 24 hours. So obviously that was going to correct a little bit harder. And if we look at the XRP price, where we came from, we've come up big, big time over the last 3 weeks, right? And as long as in these corrections, let's get rid of that. Oh, come on. As long as in these corrections, you stay above some key critical levels. And if we zoom out to the daily time frame, we'll show you some of these critical levels. You can see one of the first critical levels here. Let's make this the same color, make it pink, and then we'll make it a little bit bigger. We have this big rising channel. Ooh, I locked that in the wrong spot. Unlock. This rising channel was in there, and this was down a little bit farther. The long rising channel, come on, that we were in for the better part. And let me do this before we just get smoked with all these updates and nonsense that I have that go on my phone. But as long as we stay into this channel, and we're going to relock that, because anytime I don't, I always delete it. Lock. We were in this channel for the better part of, from the great flush back here in XRP, back in the early to mid 2020 time frame where we had a big flush. We started up in this channel, and we had our initial support down here. Actually, it's later than that. We had our initial support down here in about May of 2022, right down there. We're not even going to try to get that. And then we continue with support and resistance, support, resistance, support, resistance. The big blow off top in July of 2023 with the judge, back to support, then resistance and support. Then we broke down out of it, traded sideways, and then traded up and along this bottom part of this major blue trading zone for the better part of a couple years. So on any kind of correction, and then you can see the Donald J. Trump induced rally, we had a big blow off top. And now as long as you stay above that rising channel, you can come all the way back down to it, which will make that bigger at 96 cents, and it's uptrending. You could come all the way back down there. Not to say it would, but from current price, that would be a 31% correction. That's still not bearish, right? As long as you stay above that 96 cents, that's a major support level and used to be a major resistance level. So on any kind of big correction, not saying it's going to come down there, but that would still be very, very bullish in the daily time frame. Even if you came all the way down here and then started to trade back up, that would be a huge bullish consolidation. Now, if you came all the way back down and got underneath that, then that would be bearish, right? That'd be a bearish consolidation. But you have a long ways in between then and now. Not to say it's going to go down there, but just to give you some examples of what a bullish and bearish consolidation would be. But our first major area of support would be this first blow-off wick back around the end of the first week into the second week in November, right? Where we came up to about $1.24, $1.25, $1.26. That is your first area from your next big peak for a nice correction. And that'd be a very healthy correction to hold that as support and the trade back up to the upside. And I wouldn't be too concerned, and neither should you, if you come back down and retest $1.25. And if we zoom in to the 4-hour time frame, you can see we almost came back down there after our first big dump over the weekend. And then we had a nice bounce back after, right? And now you got another big run up in a reactionary follow through after a big turn down, because from the wick top at about $1.60, you had a 21% correction followed by a quick V-shaped recovery. And then you had from wick to wick about a 19% recovery, right? And if we put a little price note up here, you can see where we wicked off about $1.62. So if you came on down here to the $1.25 in the 4-hourly, not only does that run you into the 50-day or short-term moving average, it brings you to the old wick top, which is a very, very bullish consolidation. So that's something that I'm watching out for in the XRP price. And then, like I said, you could even come all the way back down here to this 90, to this 95 cents. And that would be a very, very healthy consolidation and a correction too. And I wouldn't be too worried about it. It would be kind of tough to watch for some people, but it would still be a very, very healthy consolidation, right? And those are the areas that I'm watching out for right now after we broke out of our last formation in the pennant flag. The only thing that's somewhat concerning, if after this big blow off top, then you had a relief rally that didn't breach the old high. If you do come down here and come back up and form something like that and then come down and trade through, that could be a little bearish, because then you've created a third consecutive lower high after creating consecutives, trifectas of new highs, right? And then let's look at some bit of news that has the market talking recently in the XRP. If we go down here into the news, we can see Wisdom Tree files for XRP ETF with Delaware Trust filing. Let's see, that didn't have such the buzz that the XLM news had. A global asset manager overseeing around 113 billion in assets has indicated the process for launching an XRP ETF. The firm recently filed a trust entity in Delaware, a necessary procedure before submitting a formal application to the SEC, increasing optimism for an XRP ETF approvals. This move positions Wisdom Tree alongside other asset managers entertaining the XRP ETF market. Bitwise filed for a similar product last month. The trust emphasized that it could use cold storage for most of the XRP holdings to ensure investor security. In October, Canary Capital also applied to launch a spot XRP ETF. The fund would track XRP's price using the benchmark index, pulling data from regulated exchanges. Now, Wisdom Tree has become the third, not first or second, but third, and potentially the largest asset manager to apply for an XRP ETF. Unlike Bitwise and Canary Capital, the proposed ETFs aims to track XRP market performance. Meanwhile, the XRP regained momentum in the bullish market. Bulls. Gary Gensler resignation from the SEC earlier this month. The token has surged 180% in November, reaching its highest point in over 3 years since the blow off top of about $1.96 in the COVID-induced hyper-hysteria. The leadership change of the SEC could shift the agenda stance on digital assets. Ripple Labs legal challenges with the SEC. Ripple has consistently highlighted XRP's performance for institutional adoption. The firm CEO Brad Garlinghouse previously expressed optimism about the eventual approval of an XRP fund. He called it an inevitable development for the class, and that'll be something that we're paying attention. XRP is not only a digital asset looking for an ETF after the success of Bitcoin and Ethereum. Van Eck, a 21 shares, have also filed for Solana ETF. The SEC currently has a deadline of January 6th, 2025 to decide on these applications. So January could be a big, big year for the XRP and some of these other assets that are looking for spot ETFs. Let's shrink these down a little bit. These are quite large. Get rid of that, or get that. And then you can see what took place after. That's much better. What took place after that news from, what was that, Grayscale? I forget the name. You had the big pump as the news broke out of just a yearly filing that you have to file if you have a spot ETF or any kind of holdings. You have to file yearly tax filings and what's been going on. Were you in the positive? Were you in the black? Were you in the red? And they filed theirs, and that caused a hyper-induced pump, right? But now what we'd be looking at here is a couple of key levels. After the big pump and the big hysteria on a correction to the downside in the 4-hourly and the XLM price, we would be looking at a major bullish consolidation, would come back down and hit this extension from the prior pump, right? You had your big first run up or second run up and got up to 26 cents. Then you consolidated sideways until Friday of last week. And then you had the huge, massive run up. And now a bullish consolidation would be running into these moving averages and staying in or along this channel, and then start to work back to the upside, right? And try to take out that old high from over the weekend. And another bullish consolidation would be a big one, would be all the way down here, even to 19 cents, where the 200-day moving average in green is. But it was an old 19-20 cents, was a heavily resisted area in the XLM price for quite some time. So that would still be a bullish consolidation, even though from the wick top, after the 600% rally nearly in the last couple of weeks, that would be a 69.08% correction. But in the grand scheme of things in the cryptos, that's not that big of a correction. I'm not saying it's going to correct down there, but that would still be a bullish consolidation. But our first target that we're looking at is right about where this 50-day moving average is in the 4-hour time frame. And then if we looked at the daily time frame where it would be at, you notice there, the 50-day and the next day or two, let's get rid of that. No, get rid of that and get rid of that. If you look at where the 50-day moving average is, by about 2 days from now, it's going to be sitting right there at that critical 20 cents, which that makes a lot of sense and would be a logical spot for a major correction. But on a shorter term correction, that's just out in the no man's land, the 37 cents would be my first major underneath support, which is only about 11 cents away now. So that's an area that I'm watching out and paying attention to. As you can see, today's been very bearish. And we had the same thing as XRP. We had the big run up. Then we had a 30% correction in about 12 hours, had a great V-shaped recovery, and now we're trading down to the downside. So it looks like it might even be inevitable that we do come and retest that 36 cents, and then the buyers or the bulls would look to come back in and defend off the bears or the sellers over in the next couple of days. But you have a couple of moving averages you got to come through. There could be a bounce here at the 44 cents, which was your regional low after the big pump, and that could induce a nice rally from there. So that would be a spot I'd be looking at for a very, very sharp V-shaped recovery, something similar to this if it came down on its first test of either, which is now the 100-day moving average in blue, which is at the same exact spot, and we'll mark it as your current wick low. And if you notice where that wick low came down to, it came down into major support where you had your last mini, small, short consolidation before your last big pump to the upside. So that's an area that I'm paying attention for you, my beautiful, lovely audience. And then if we look up at Ethereum and Bitcoin dominance, you can see Bitcoin dominance has been taking a hit recently as the altcoins have been moving and pumping. But now if you look at Bitcoin dominance, we've kind of come down to a major area here at about the 58.55% dominance level, which was a major consolidation zone right here back in late October of 2024. And that was your first big spike in Bitcoin dominance, where Bitcoin had a phenomenal rally. And then recently we've had choppy action. Every time you've had your initial drop, you had some big moves in the altcoins. And then as the moves in the altcoins took place, they started selling out of the altcoins and taking profit. And then Bitcoin dominance would have a rally as the altcoins would have a short-term correction. Just like now, Bitcoin dominance started to go down on Wednesday of last week, and Thursday, Friday, Saturday, they were big pumps in the altcoins. Now let's see if we have another Bitcoin dominance rally as people start taking profit out of the altcoins and Bitcoin dominance starts to move to the upside, right? That's something that I'm paying attention to because there's a distinct and evident correlation. The same thing with Bitcoin. You're having a big consolidation, not even a big consolidation, but a consolidation nonetheless for the first time in a long time. And so far from the just below $100,000, we got up to about 99,700 and change at the current wick low. That's a 7% correction. And that's very, very healthy. And we're going to put a little price note up here to show the top, so far the current top of 99,820 and change. And then if we clone that, no, if we want to clone it, clone. If we clone it, our first big area, come on. It even locks the clone. Our first big area of major support on the Bitcoin price, this is a very long video, would be down here at the old big blow off wick top where we went up about 30% from the Donald Trump rally. You had your first blow off top there, and then a little sideways consolidation before the next major run up. And that would be our first area of major support, would be down there at 90,108.28, which would be a healthy consolidation. And then if you broke that and had a meaningful, bigger correction, it would be 74,375. But that's not to say that's going to happen before we hit our short-term $112,000 target, and that would be hit very, very quickly if we did breach the $100,000 mark in the near short term. Like, subscribe, peace and love to my lovely, glowing, beautiful audience.